Tell me, why on earth did you and Giselle encourage Shannon to slander Jack? What on earth are you up to?
Pinky is always so considerate. I've been looking back on the past. I ruined Pinky's marriage. I feel so guilty about it.
I never wanted to hurt you. But I didn't expect I'd still hurt you in the end.
In order to win you over, I did so many things to hurt Pinky. I feel extremely guilty.
What is the role of research in economic development? Well, the world over, there's a correlation between the two because well-grounded economic development must be grounded on proper research. And as a country, we don't have a shortage of researchers as well as well-researched documents, but the problem has always been the implementation of the same. I'll be having this conversation with a professor, with the Vice-Chancellor of Management University of Africa, Professor Washington Okeo. We just want to dive into the world of research and ask ourselves, what is the role of research in socio-economic development, and are we following the script as a country? Good morning, and thank you so very much indeed for joining us. We are on air and of course online. This is BizCheck and my name is Brien, Kimani. And of course we are also keeping an eye on the ongoing energy conference where stakeholders are expected to discuss various ways of bringing down the cost of energy in the country, and of course the various policies that needs to be employed or to be deployed in order for this to happen. Remember, the government has a target of bringing down the cost of energy by about 30%. So far, 15% has happened. The other 15% is facing serious opposition from independent power producers, and of course we must expect some concession in that regard. And of course, we're also keeping an eye on the politics. Remember, we are hurtling down to the 9th of August, where the country will go into the elections, definitely to choose various leaders, from MCAs to members of parliament, to woman rep, and of course to governors, senators, and the president. We are keeping an eye on what various political actors are saying. My name is Brien Kimani. At Brien Kimani is my Twitter handle, and at KBC Channel 1 is our official Twitter page. You can get in touch with us, and of course let's share the conversation that is coming up next. And of course later on I shall be having another very interesting conversation around the business of nutritional supplements. Oh yeah. It's a growing business. It's also becoming popular here in Kenya, even as more Kenyans, decide to take the healthy route. But we want to find out where are we in terms of consumption and, of course, in terms of market expansion in regard to diet supplements. We are having that conversation here. But for now, we go to the big conversation on the role of research in economic development. Remember, Professor Washington Okeo is in the house. See you shortly. Well, as a country, we have a dalliance with research, going back many decades ago. And of course, one of the most talked about research document is, of course, the session of paper number 10 of 1965 on economic development and social development as well. We have gone ahead, and brought about or developed even other more critical documents on how to develop ourselves as an economy and, of course, socially. And that's a conversation we want to have it right here. And I'm joined by Washington Okeo. He's a Vice Chancellor of Management University of Africa. He's Professor Washington Okeo. Thank you very much indeed for joining us this morning. Prof, I want to get your thoughts on the whole concept of research. How is it interlinked with socio-economic development?
Thank you very much, Brien, and thank you very much again for having me in the studio this morning. As you mentioned, my name is Professor Washington Okeo. I'm the Vice Chancellor of the Management University of Africa. Touching on the topic of the day, the role of research in economic development. Probably we start from the other end, economic development, so that you put it into context. Mm-hmm. What is economic development? I think it's important for us to understand before even we move into how research delves into economic development. The economy is the activities of a country that are within the borders of a country. And obviously, these activities are what are intended to spur and improve the health of the individuals, importantly the citizens of that particular country, so that they can live healthy lives. So that is basically the essence of economic development. Now, in Kenya, we have different sectors of the economy, and we know them. We have manufacturing, where we have a lot of production issues. We have the social sector, where we have education, we have health, and so on and so forth. And there are very, very many. So all those in totality form the Kenyan economy. Now, many as they are, it is important for us to see how we can spur the development of these different sectors of economy, which in totality then will give us a feel of what the Kenyan economy looks like. And because there are so many factors playing in the field of economy, or Kenyan economy as it were, this is where research comes in. Because we look at the environment in which these economic factors play. That environment is one of, first and foremost, it is a very dynamic environment which changes every so often. It's got so many factors, and because of that, we need to understand that environment before even we can, for example, starting a business. If one wants to start a business, how would one start a business without knowing the impact or the effect of these various economic factors on his or her business? And that is where research comes in very handily, because you have to carry out research in terms of feasibility studies, in terms of looking at the various parameters which your business will be impacted by or will be affected by. And once you do the research, then you will know how these various factors are likely to affect your business, and then you take various precautions. For example, if you are looking at the human resource that you need for your business, then you need to know what is the human resource base in the country. Do you have adequate expertise and knowledgeable people to be able to run your business when you start it? If you are looking at technology, for example, do you have adequate technology to be able to that you're going to use in your business? If it is not present in Kenya, then you have to import it from outside. And are you prepared to do that as a business person? And so that is really the role of research. It is basically to unravel certain uncertainties which must be unraveled for somebody to start a business or for somebody to run a business in an economic environment.
When you look at us as a country, Prof, and I know that you've been around for a long time, are you convinced that our socio-economic development model is grounded on research?
Yes, that's a good question, Brien, and I think I would say yes and no. In terms of how much is yes and how much is no, that's a point of debate. But when you're introducing this, you mentioned about the sessional paper number 10 of 1965. And I think that blueprint is where we started as a country. Now, and that was a very well-researched blueprint paper, which was meant to transfer the economic empowerment from the then foreigners, because then our economy was directly in the hands of the foreigners, to the indigenous people. And the question we want to ask is, down the line, several decades, how much of that have we achieved? Have we managed to transfer the economy to the indigenous people of Kenya? That's a point of debate. There is a part of it which has been transferred, a significant part. But is it helping the indigenous people the way it was meant to help? And that, again, is a point of debate. It isn't helping as much as the indigenous people would like it to help them. And perhaps some of the reasons are because we are not employing the techniques of research, in order to come up with various avenues, various areas of investment, various business to start, and how to run them. Importantly, I think there's a bit of that going on, but it is not going on enough. For example, universities like our university, we have different levels of teaching. Obviously, we have diploma, we have undergraduate, we have masters or postgraduate, and then we have PhD. And at all these levels, there are researches that are being done by our students. At the university level, we of course do academic research that our students ought to do, so that they are grounded on the theoretical aspect of research or of things. But also we also stress or emphasize the applied research. And applied research is the research which is used to identify solutions to economic problems in the society, in the communities. And what we do is that our students, we encourage them and make sure that they go out and look at what problems are plaguing the economy, what problems are plaguing the communities, what problems are plaguing the society. And then they model their researches around those problems. And importantly, once they do the researches, we encourage them to go back to those communities, to the societies, to the economy, and implement their research findings, so that there is that loop that is created by getting problems plaguing the economy, and then carrying out research to find out the solutions, and then going back to the community, to the society, to implement those solutions.
Like now, the whole country is really focused on the 9th of August elections, and we're going to elect thousands of people to represent us, at various levels, be it members of parliament, women reps, senators, governors, and so forth. But the question that is now coming is, we are going to spend billions of shillings, on this event. Is it being guided by research?
Yeah, that's an interesting scenario, because first of all, coming from our university, which is a leadership and management focused university, that is actually the main role of or focus of the Management University of Africa. So we teach leadership. And in leadership, we have political leadership, we have business leadership and other leadership styles. And one thing that is for sure is that the political leadership are very interested in the development of the economy, or economic development per se. And even as they sell their ideas, as they sell their manifestos, as they sell their ideologies, most of them are actually anchoring them on economic development. As to how much research has been done for them to end up with the proposals that they're making to the Kenyan people, that is a point of debate, because I'm not involved in that. But for them to come up with the manifestos that they are selling, to the people, there should be some element of research that they have undertaken, because, for example, the different types of economic models that are being proposed. Some people are proposing the bottom-up economy, some people are proposing the top-bottom economy, some people are proposing the mixed model, and so on and so forth. And these are economic models which are based on research, and there are theories that drive these various economic models. So I should imagine that before somebody starts talking about top-bottom economy or bottom-up economy, they must be grounded in that area, and that some research must have been done. So that is my belief. But it's a point of debate, and the blueprints that they have come up with are blueprints which have got the various proposals that they make, that they're proposing to implement, and even how they will implement them. So I believe that is coming out of some level of research.
Mm-hmm. And as we even get into the process of deciding who is going to be in charge of leadership in this country, at various levels, what is the role of research in helping us identify the people who should be in charge of political leadership, of economic leadership, of social leadership in this country?
Yes, I think research cascades very, very deep into the society. And definitely political leadership, as we are looking at it, is a leadership that ought to provide the direction where the society would like to go. And obviously, we have our constitution, which basically guides where our society is meant to go, or rather from which we develop models which guide where our economy is supposed to go to. Now, in terms of identifying leadership, I would say the role of research would be sort of trying to determine the different types of leadership styles and leadership models that we as a country need at the moment. Because there is a stage of development that we are as a country, and there are different leadership styles that may spur economic growth and economic development in this country. There are others which may not spur it. And so, for example, we have transformative leadership style, which leads people to a given direction based on involving those people. We have autocratic leadership style, which basically is dictatorial. We have a situational leadership style, which basically is the type of situation that a country is in. That is what the leader himself adopts. And based on the broad definition of leadership as it is, that a leader ought to lead people to a predefined destination, and that these people must be willing for them to be led there. So it is important for us to apply the research concepts to be able to identify the kind of leaders that can lead us to where we want, the destination that Kenya would like to be in the next 5 years, for example. As to whether that is happening, that is a matter of debate, because we know politics is a rather queer sort of involvement and engagement, because it begins by personal interest before even the community and the society in general can say, yes, that is the political leader that we want. If I want to be in politics, I must raise my head up and raise my hand up and say, I would like to lead you people. So there could be a very good leader down there who hasn't raised his head up and has not expressed interest in being a political leader. So he will never be, despite the fact that he can be a very good leader. So research has got its limitations when it comes to identifying individuals and proposing individuals. Yes, that can be done, but as to whether those individuals would be interested in taking up the role that they have been identified for, that's a different story.
Like, for example, I mean, in 2010, we promulgated a new constitution. 2020 was the first decade of the new constitution. Then in 2013, we got into a new political dispensation of devolved units and new members of parliament. I mean, new political style in terms of senators, governors, and so much. But as a country, do you think, or do you believe that we have taken time now to look at the last 10 years of new constitution and devolution and analyzed it and researched on it and asked ourselves hard questions on how we progress to the next 10 years?
Yeah, thank you very much. And the 2010 constitution was touted to be one of the best constitutions in Africa, if not in the world, because it is very progressive in terms of its content and form. And so in terms of measuring the performance, of that constitution, it is really the responsibility of the government to determine whether the constitution is performing or is delivering what it was meant to deliver. But having said that, at university level, what do we do?
No, but I still have, a question. I mean, when you say it's just the role of the government,
yes,
I don't think this is a role that should just be left purely to the government. I think we have the academia, we have researchers, as well, to try and also prop up this kind of conversations and also push the government into action.
Exactly, and thank you very much. That's a point that I was trying to bring in when I was talking about at university level, what exactly do we do? What we do at university level is we look at a variety of things, and 2010 Constitution is one of the items that have been very, very, very researched in terms of its performance, in terms of whether it has delivered, what it has delivered in the last 12 years, as it were. And there are various interesting results which have come out. It's being talked about because one of the main things about 2010 Constitution is the devolution. That is what it brought in. That has spurred a lot of economic activities at the county level, and we have seen several researches and several reports on how different counties are performing in the environment of devolution, and this varies from different counties, from one county to another. There are counties definitely which have performed way better than others and have improved the social facilities like hospitals. There are so many markets that have been constructed in various counties, and there are so many road networks that have been developed and so on and so forth. And a lot of economic uplifting has been done at the county level. So in that regard, one would say that yes, there's quite a huge chunk that has been done in some counties. Of course, it depends on the management in terms of the leadership of those counties, the governance system, starting from the governor going downwards. There are counties, obviously, which have, and I don't have the statistics of what each and every county has done. But yes, to a certain extent, the 2010 Constitution, in terms of devolution, has really impacted positively in the counties at that level.
But then, if and it's good that you brought about that issue of yes. There is a lot of research, in the academia sphere that is being conducted, to try and understand what is the best socio-economic development model for this country. Because we must accept this fact. I mean, we must develop policies and documents, that suit the bigger picture of development in this country. But how much of that research being developed by the academia is being cascaded into the national economic blueprint in Kenya?
Yes, thank you very much. First of all, you asked which would be the best economic model, for this country. Even before we go to how research is being disseminated for implementation, basically there's a continuum. In economics, there's a continuum of economic models, and you can look at the opposing ones, the top bottom and then the bottom up economic model, basically, and then you can have a degree of a mixture of those two. Now the top bottom economic model is the one that looks at the bigger picture of the economy. It looks at the macroeconomic factors, for example, the fiscal factors. It looks at the inflation. It looks at the production, in totality at that level. And so it comes up with blueprints, basically looking at if those conditions are right, and defines what that right means, then this is where one should channel their investments towards, based on those factors, macroeconomic factors. Then there is the other side of the divide, which is the bottom-up economic model, which is basically looking at the economy at microeconomic level. At microeconomic level, that is where you have consumption, supply and demand issues, coming in. So basically, you are looking at the performance of the individual, or the activities of the individual companies, if you like, and also activities. So, and then you lack the bigger picture. When you focus more on the bottom-up economy, you actually lack the bigger picture. So you're sort of saying that we need to look at how these small businesses are going to develop, and then sell their products, and then to satisfy the local supply and demand requirements. But then there are those macroeconomic factors which affect how these particular small businesses will work. And that is what needs to be brought into perspective. So to answer the question, which is the best, there's no wrong or right answer here. There's no best or not best. It is a mixture of the two. Because for the top bottom to work, they need to know what is happening on the ground. They need to know the microeconomic conditions and factors for them to be able to know where to channel the investments to. And again, for the bottom up to work, they need to know the macroeconomic factors like the tax regime of a country, the fiscal, the inflation, how it is going to affect, their activities, so that they know how to channel their investment, when to do it, and so on and so forth. Now, going back to the second part of your question, how is research, being implemented, by the government and so on? In universities like my university, the Management University of Africa, we do quite a huge chunk of research, and being a leadership and management university, our research touches on economic issues, it touches on leadership issues, touches on management issues, and other developmental issues. And we do quite a chunk of this research. Some of them we do in collaboration with the industry, the government, and other companies outside, outside the academia. But some of them we do purely as academic, exercise, which sort of is meant to ensure that our students get the correct academic or the right academic, angle of their education. But the ones which are more interesting for this discussion are the ones that we do in collaboration with the industry and other players outside the academia. Now, when we do those kind of research, there are two or three things that we come up with. One, we come up with issues to do with policies. What sort of policies are required in a specific area to be able to spur the developments and the activities that are happening or that ought to happen in that particular area. So we advise the government at that level that for this particular situation to manifest properly so that it can, lead to economic development, to help, improve the health of the indigenous people, these are the policies that you need to have in place. And we have done that. We have done that at the level of the small businesses. We have done that across the sectors, like the manufacturing, like the service sector, like the, also technology sector, and so on, and all the other sectors of the economy. Now, but before we do that, how do we get into this partnership and to identify? Obviously, the government has got its own priority areas where they would like to sort of delve into and to find out what policies they need to produce. So they get in touch and then they advise, they ask the universities. We have this particular project in this particular area. We will need some information about it. We would like to get into partnership so that you can help us carry out some research and then advise on what kind of policies we need.
Very good.
That is on the side of the government and the policies. In terms of now the individual players in the industry, we also have the companies that operate, for example, in the manufacturing, for example, in the service, for example, in the technology area. We also partner with these companies. And when we partner with these companies, the results, and there are various different types of needs that these companies have that we carry out research based on. Some of them we end up with, internal policies now for the industries, not for the government. And then we also identify the practices which are kind of touted as best practices in that particular industry, so that when a company is looking at what kind of culture should it adopt, then we advise them that this is the kind of culture that you need to adopt as a company.
Yeah. When you look at the last 10 years, the country has almost tripled the number of universities in this country. But has this also tripled the number of research papers in this country?
That's an interesting question. Yes, it's true. The number of universities has grown significantly, and right now we have an odd number of about 74 universities in this country. Half of them are public universities and half of them are private universities. Of course, there are different sizes of universities. And given that the mandate of a university is threefold, there is the one which is on the side of teaching, and then there's the other one which is on the side of research, and then there is the one which is on the side of community development. So it is threefold. That is the management. the mandate of any university in this country. So in terms of research, each university does research at different levels. Like I said, in my university, the Management University of Africa, we carry out research starting from diploma level to undergraduate all the way to master's and PhD. And depending on the level, the research that is being done could be complex or less complex. Obviously, the lower the level, the less complex the research is. The higher the level, the more complex it is. So PhD researchers looks more at the real issues plaguing the country and plaguing the economy. And because the number of universities have nearly tripled, as you said, in fact more than tripled, the research results that are coming out of the PhD programs are very, very relevant, which are very, very relevant, have also multiplied almost at the same at the same rate as the number of universities.
Yeah.
So indeed, there have been so many that have come up, and at the master's level, the researches that are being done at the master's level are researches which I would say focus more on specific companies.
Yeah.
For example, in my university, most of the researches that our students do at master's level focus on specific companies. For example, Safaricom, for example, Airtel, for example, EABL, so that they look at various aspects of within those companies, and then they carry out their research and advise those companies on how those companies can improve their services, can improve their production, can improve their products, and so on and so forth.
Research is just one aspect of this whole concept, but the world is now talking about research and development. How do you research, and then after researching, you develop, that your research, and you develop it into something else? And, the world is inspired by the two biggest economies in the world, and I'm talking about the United States and I'm talking about China. The two countries, when you look at their research funding or R&D, what we call research and development funding, it's more than 10% of their GDP. And when you're talking about 10% of their GDP, when you look at, for example, United States, an economy of almost $20 trillion US, when you look at China, an economy of almost $17 trillion US, you're talking about significant resources. But their investment is paying off because these are countries that are coming up with cutting-edge technology. But when you come to Kenya, our funding to the R&D sector is less than 1%. A lot of people will tell you it's about 0.8%, but the numbers, keep on changing. As a country, do you think we are very committed, or we are taking the question of research and development with the level of seriousness that it deserves?
Very interesting observation indeed, and it is true that the countries that you mentioned, the US, United States of America, China, have allocated significant chunks of their budget towards research, and it is actually being utilized because they come up with research areas which are actually that money is being utilized towards, and you can see the gains that they're having. If you look at US, for example, we started way back in 1776. Look at the level of economic development in the US. I don't think you can compare it to what we're going through, we have in Africa, Kenya in particular. Look at their road networks and so on and so forth. They've got, huge, expansive and elaborate road networks, and these are the panacea for basically economic growth. But how did they get there? I think, like you said, they have done quite a bit of serious research to be able to know exactly what they need to do and which areas they need to do them. Obviously, at our country's level, Kenya, we cannot compare in terms of magnitude to what those people do. But we can also initiate ours and know how we can benefit from them in the first place. And so it is a matter of priority for the government. It is a matter of priority for the government because research is fundamental. There's no country, there's no organization, there's no area which can develop without research, because development is looking at the future. And the future is always uncertain. You don't know what is in the future. And for you to plan for the future, then you have to come up with models which are properly simulated based on different scenarios, so that you can say if scenario A manifests in the future, this is the model that we shall use. If scenario B is the one that manifests, this is the one that we shall use. And that can only come through research and development. As to why or how much the government is allocating towards research and development in this country, that is a matter of figures, yeah, and they are there. I think the government needs to increase the amount of money that is being allocated to research in this particular country, so that we can assign, because the absence of that, let me just say that the absence of that is what now leads us to copying what is being done elsewhere and then pasting it in our country, not knowing that those people researched these models that we're copying. They researched it based on their own environment for their own countries. They are not researched for Kenya. But because we are not producing our own original models, then we are forced to copy from there. And the end result is that we don't get what we expect to get.
You see, the world of, there seems to be some concurrence when it comes to, the amount of funds that should be allocated to research and development. And rich countries will talk about 5% of their GDP. In Africa, we still do not have that figure because we are yet to research, on our own.
Yeah.
But a lot of people in this, researchers will tell you that if we can dedicate about between 2 and 3% of our GDP to research and development, then the payoff will be significant. Do you agree with them that we need to have between 2 or 3% of our GDP dedicated to research?
Yes. I think I start from the university level. What do we do at the university level? We allocate between 2 and 10% of our total income, our budget. 2 to 10% goes to research. That is the allocation that we have. And we ensure that we utilize that allocation as a university to carry out researches which are meaningful, towards solving societal problems. And based on that, in the Management University of Africa, we have set up an innovation and incubation center, which is the center for research and development. And basically, we have a way of enticing and encouraging our students to bring in ideas. It's basically a student-centered center where students bring in the ideas. The ideas are processed and sieved, and then they are developed, incubated, and then after that, they are commercialized. The ones which meet the commercial, threshold are then commercialized. And that is the model which the government needs to adopt. Obviously, the government's case will be a lot more complex because there are different sectors of the economy, you are talking about health, and even at those different sectors, you also have different subsectors. So it is something that the government must do because and again I go back to the 1965 sessional paper number 10 on socioeconomic development. There are various things, and subsequent to that, there have been so many other sessional papers. I think, more than 10 or 20 sessional papers, and all of them are talking about economic development. These cannot be achieved without targeted research. And for the government to achieve targeted research, there is need for the government to allocate adequate budget towards research. But not only allocating adequate research towards research, the government needs to create policies that support research. Because without a policy framework, even if you have a budget, it cannot be spent the way it's supposed to be, to benefit. And then after that, the government needs to create institutions for research. I know there are so many institutions that the government has created. For example, in the agricultural sector, you have, in the industrial sector, you have places like Kirdi, you have ILRI, you have so many of them which are carrying out government research. Even
though ILRI is international, it's an international organization.
Yeah, some of these are international organizations, so the government sort of partner with these people, with these organizations. On the government side, there is need to, for the government to actively identify how they can support research and development in this country, because that is the only way that this country can achieve its goals into the future.
It's proper that you have brought the issue of entities that are involved in the research field, and we don't have a shortage of the same.
Yeah.
We have research organizations like Kenya Institute of Research Development, that is Kirdi.
Yeah.
We have Kenya Medical Research Institute, that is KEMRI. We have Kenya Forestry Research Institute. We have Marines and Research. There are so many, including coffee research, tea research. But when you look at their funding, more than 50% of their funding, comes from the development partners or donors, if you like it.
Yeah.
And so you have a situation whereby the government is more involved in funding the recurrent expenditure. But when it comes to the capital expenditure, it's purely left to the development communities. And of course, they come with their own interest, as it were. So how do we empower these research institutions to ensure that they are well funded and they are well equipped and capacitated to come up with world-class research and innovations?
Yes, I think the onus now should rest on the individual organizations and institutes themselves. If they were not created, then it would be a point for the government. If they were not yet created, it would be a point for the government to see how they can create these different institutes. But now that those institutes exist, it is upon the institutes themselves to map out what research activities they need to do at Kiridi level, at Kemri level, at other levels. Yeah? So that they can come up with proposals and blueprints of what research activities they need to get involved in, and then how much that would cost. And then they make the proposals to the government. And then the government should then look at how much, because the government's hands are also, tied. Mm-hmm. There are so many competing interests that the government budget, ought to serve. And based on these competing interests, I believe the government can look at, how to prioritize the various competing interests, and then prioritize research and development, particularly support of these institutes based on their contribution to the development of the country, and then put them up in the priority of, budget allocation list, and allocate them appropriate money for their research and development. Yeah.
Look, I mean, we've spent the last 45 or so minutes discussing the issue of socio-economic development, and one thing that is coming out clearly is that it is critical. It cannot be overlooked. If as a country we are going to develop, then we must deploy significant resources in terms of funds, in terms of human resource, in research and development. And we are in the company of Professor Washington Okeo. He's the Vice Chancellor of Management University of Africa. Your input is highly appreciated, because I'm about to give you my Twitter handle, which is at KBC, at Brien Kimani, and at KBC. The good old professor, do you have a Twitter handle as well, where people can interact with you?
Yeah, I don't remember it often. So we may use yours.
Prof, you need to have a Twitter handle. So the conversation continues from here, and of course, remember you're watching the Business Check, and we are live from Broadcasting House. Let's move on to now where we are and what we need to do. So going forward, how do we integrate research in our socio-economic planning and ensure that it is followed, it is well documented and well researched for the benefit of this country?
Yes, thank you very much, O'Brien. The socio-economic planning is one of the most fundamental issues for a government, and the government of Kenya is definitely into that. And for socio-economic planning to be effective, it must take into account the various aspects of the needs and wants of the citizens of the country. Mm-hmm. And those needs and wants basically are based on the different sectors of the economy. For example, there is the social sector, there is the other sectors of the economy, which basically affect their citizens directly. And because there are so many factors that play in these different sectors, it would be impossible, if not very difficult, to come up with a plan on how to develop the economy without carrying out research. And so it is imperative, because it is only through research that you can find out, for example, and use, say, past statistics, past performance data, to look at what happened in different scenarios. During those, in the past, there could have been, the various factors affecting the economy. Like right now, I think a good example to give is the political environment that we have now. We have had different presidential elections in the past. What has been their impact on the economy? Because for us to now plan on how we can manage the economy based on what is going on, we need to base it on the fact. And then we can use that to project how it is going to happen in the future. And so it affects the education sector, it affects the health sector, it affects the manufacturing, it affects the technology, all the other sectors of the economy. So it would be imperative. It's important to have the aspect of research carried out, even as we come out or try to come out with the different broader areas that we need to focus on, and even specific areas at different levels in our country.
And it's true. I mean, you've just said it. I mean, when you look at the World Bank rankings of, the effectiveness of implementation of various research and development, Kenya ranks poorly in terms of rollout and deployment of those researches. But in terms of developing a research concept, I mean, it is ranked very highly, actually, as one of the top 100 in the world. So how do we match the number of research research documents that are being produced by our researchers and the number and the effectiveness of applying that research in our day-to-day life, in our economy, in our social development?
One question that comes to mind when looking at that is we have so many research papers and therefore research output. Are those many research papers and output relevant to our economy? Mm-hmm. That could explain the reason why probably there isn't so much of it being implemented. And it takes me back to the point which I mentioned that earlier, that if one wants to carry out research in a particular area which is going to involve the government, then they need to involve the government from the word go in the first place. Because if you don't involve the government has got its own priorities. Okay, you may be researching on an issue which definitely would have an effect, whose results would have an effect on the country's economy, but if it is not there in the government blueprint, for example, there'll be no space for it to be implemented. There'll be no budget for it to be implemented. So before one does research, it is important to look at the priorities that the government has. If you're doing, research in an area which is going to, which you expect the government to come in and do the implementation. But on the other hand, there are development partners from, overseas and other places, which come with their own areas which they want to focus on. Mm-hmm. So much as they partner with the government, but the government just gives the approval that it's okay, go ahead and focus your efforts or channel your efforts towards that area. So in that scenario, then it is the development partners who then, have a say in what areas they want to focus on and whether research should be done in those areas or not. And they actually recruit researchers, so that those researchers can give them baseline data to find out, what is important in those particular areas. And then after that, they can go into full-blown research to establish solutions to problems that plague people in that particular area. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When you look at Kenya, our socio-economic development is guided by Vision 2030, which was launched back in the year 2008. Of course, we have not been very faithful, to following through, the aspirations of Vision 2030. And of course, there has been deviations with serious consequences. So going forward, how do we safeguard and how do we keep on reviewing the aspirations of Vision 2030 to ensure that, number one, they are well aligned with the emerging realities in the world, and number two, that the people who are put in place to shepherd and to drive the aspirations of Vision 2030 are aligned to those realities?
Yes, thank you very much. One of the most important issues in implementing sort of these blueprints like Vision 2030 and others. And we even had Vision 2020, I think, okay? And we also have the Constitution itself, which is the bigger sort of framework. One of the most important things to look at, which would lead to the success of these implementations, is the institutions. Do we have proper and well-empowered institutions to be able to implement these blueprints? Because I say this because Vision 2030, for example, is a government blueprint. So, and we know that governments change. You know, with time, after every 5 years, we have different governments. So is the incoming government, for example, in favor of that particular blueprint? The only way that we can ensure that happens is if we empower the institutions that are meant to implement these blueprints, and also empower them by creating policies, government policies, which will then drive the process, so that they are anchored in, so that the subsequent governments that come in place can continue. There can be a continuation in terms of implementation of what has already been started, rather than trashing it and then coming out with some different things. Obviously, there will always be the temptation because as time goes by, for example, Vision 2030 was created several years ago, and the time has gone by. Perhaps the assumptions which were made at that time when it was being created, some of the assumptions did not manifest. Different assumptions sort of came out, and when that happens, one wonders what is the effectiveness of the original Vision 2030 blueprint, for example. So I think the approach that should be done is there should be a review. And in most instances, when you're implementing projects, when implementing blueprints, at some point, maybe quarter way through, you do a review of the progress that has been made, and then you look at the obtaining environment, and then look at what are the factors that are affecting or that have affected the implementation, and how have they affected it either negatively or positively. Then what do we need to do to change those, the blueprint itself, include certain aspects, which then going forward, then we'll make sure that it is still on course of its implementation and likely to deliver the benefits for which it was developed. Unless and until that is done, it is impossible to implement something which was developed 10 years ago and still claim that it is still giving the same intended benefits that it was programmed to give in the beginning. And that is probably why when you say that there have been variants of other issues being implemented which are different from the original blueprint, that is most likely the reason, because the incoming leadership has seen that the original blueprint was channeling the country to a particular direction, but now the factors that are obtaining were not good enough for that blueprint to be implemented the way it was designed, and therefore the big four agendas come in. But my thinking is that anything that comes should be anchored on the blueprint.
Very well.
It should be the blueprint that is being sort of relooked at to see how you can incorporate the emerging issues.
Good.
Yeah.
Prof, thank you very much indeed for joining us this morning, and of course sharing with us your knowledge on research and development issues. And of course it's an ongoing conversation, and we'll be tapping your knowledge going forward on these issues.
Thank you very much, Brien.
Asante sana.
I appreciate it.
Well, we've been talking matters research and development with Professor Washington Okeo. He is the Vice Chancellor of Management University of Africa, joining us this morning to help us understand what is the role of research and development in Kenya's socio-economic development. And of course, you have heard it from him. This is Base Check. We are live from Broadcasting House. Our next conversation is around the business of dietary supplements, not only here in Kenya, but around the world. Stay here for that conversation.
After 10 years, Machakos County is gearing up to elect a new governor. How well do you know the candidates and what do they have to offer? KBC Channel 1 has organized a gubernatorial debate for Machakos aspirants this Thursday, 19th May, live from Scott Christian University, Machakos, exclusively on KBC Channel 1.
They came, saw and scored their way to the DFB Pokal final. Germany's valiant rivals, SC Freiburg and RB Leipzig, are a heartbeat away from lifting the ultimate trophy of which none has ever won. SC Freiburg are still hopeful of winning their first major title in club history. Meanwhile, RB Leipzig have reached 2 of the last 3 DFB Pokal finals, losing 3-0 to Bayern Munich in 2019 and 4-1 to Dortmund in 2021. It is therefore a moment of truth for these finalists.
So 5 from 6 this season, make that 6 from 7. 35 minutes gone, 3-0 Freiburg. This is history in the making.
As we reveal the identity of 2021-2022 DFB Pokal champion, keep a close eye on this grandest match between SC Freiburg and RB Leipzig on Saturday, the 21st of May 2022 at 9 p.m. live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1. KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Very well. According to research by Fortune Business Insight, the global dietary supplement market size was about $61.2 billion in the year 2020. This is expected to grow to around $71.8 billion by the year 2022, and this is expected actually to almost triple by the year 2028 to around $128 billion. The same is replicated here in Kenya, whereby we have seen a number of dietary supplements companies, coming into the Kenyan market, to try and tap the hugely untapped market. Max International is one of the companies that is in this business, and this is going to be our conversation this morning, and we're talking to Joseph Wojtycki. He's the dietary. He's the CEO of Max International, joining us this morning. Thank you very much indeed, Joseph, for your time. Asante sana. So first of all, I want to find out from you. Kenya is your latest market, to go into.
Yes.
Of course, you are in a couple of markets here in Africa. Why did it take you too long, to come to Kenya? And of course, what have you seen that has been so attractive to your company?
Well, this is an amazing market. We started out in Ghana. We're in Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire. We're opening up in Cameroon. We always want to make sure that we are not outstripping our talent base, right? So we want to deliver the highest value to the consumer. And so it takes a while to develop and train the people in the country that are working with us within the company to make sure that we're doing our business the way that we would like it done. And so your human resources are very, very important, because that's who relates directly to the consumer, who conveys, the value of how we do our business. So we've taken our time to make sure that we are growing and that we can actually fulfill on the value promise that we make.
Mm-hmm. You see, you launched your operations back in 2007 in the United States.
Yes.
And so we're talking about how many years of operations now?
15 years.
That is 15 years of operations. What lessons that you have learned, on the international market that you plan to apply them here?
We learned that, people's needs are basically the same all over the world is that people want to have, number one, they want to have good health, and they deserve good health, and they deserve the very, very best products. Number two, people are concerned about their economic well-being. How do we help people lift themselves up so that they can make the type of incomes that they're looking for? So we know that now people all around the world, no matter what the culture is, are really focused on those things, you know, taking care of their health, taking care of their families, making sure that they have sufficient income. That's kind of common. Now there are difficulties in different cultures and different processes in every country. You know, for like product approvals in every country is different. So some countries have sensitivities to certain ingredients. Some countries are fine with those same ingredients. So there are, you know, small peculiarities to each country as you go. And then you want to learn about each of the cultures. There are cultural differences from country to country, region to region, and you have to, you know, learn about who you're serving. What does your customer need? How do you relate to them? How do you provide the best value for them? And so that's a process that we've gone through at Max International. We're now in about 20 countries around the world, and we're continuing to grow. We have an extreme commitment to making sure that we're delivering on the highest value products throughout Africa. We don't want to ever bring products that are cut rate. We've seen a lot of companies do that, bring, you know, products that are not the same quality as they are in the United States. And so we want people to know that our products are made at exactly the same quality. We have the exact same products here in Kenya and throughout Africa that are sold in Europe and in the United States.
Mm-hmm. And of course, as you're saying, I mean, each country is different, and you know, people are different, you know, based on various issues. But so, how do you develop, you know, products that suit the American market, the Cameroonian market, the Nigerian market, and the Kenyan market as well?
Yes.
To ensure that you know, it benefits the targeted market.
Well, in terms of human cells, our cells are all basically the same from country to country.
Yep.
There are commonalities, right? So our products are focused upon the center of human beings' cellular defense, that being a molecule called glutathione. So it doesn't matter whether you're a person in Kenya, in Ghana, in the US, in Nigeria, in the Philippines, all of your cells are trying to make glutathione to defend themselves. Now, this is a word that most people haven't heard of yet, but I can promise you this. Everybody will know how important glutathione is. Now, glutathione is made in all of your cells. You have 70 trillion cells in your body. And so you think about how much glutathione you need for
70 trillion cells.
That's a lot. Yes, we are made up of a lot of little things. But at the center of your cells, if your cells are healthy, right, your cells make up your organs, your cells make up your skin, your cells make up your eyes, your hair. You know, there's a lot of things going on. You've got your digestive tract, you've got your vision, you've got your hearing. These are all things that people kind of take for granted until there's a problem. So how do our cells stay healthy? Well, the center of it is glutathione. It is the absolute most important antioxidant in your body. And it is made in your body constantly. Your cells are constantly trying to make it. Now, the problem with glutathione is that as you get older, your glutathione production goes down. And when your glutathione production goes down, your inflammation markers go up. When your inflammation markers go up, well, that's when you start to have problems. That's why you don't feel the same at 20 years old as you may at 30 years old, and you may at 40 years old, and then things really start to feel a lot different. Well, part of that process is that your glutathione levels are declining, and you need to get them up. You need to increase your glutathione levels. Now, this is true of every human being on the planet. So we at Max are focused on something that is universal and universally important to your cellular health.
And of course, you're coming into a market, I mean, whereby, you know, there are other players in this market.
Well, there's no other players doing what we do.
Well, they may not be doing what you're doing, but they are in the same space that you're operating from. And you're coming at a time when, you know, people are becoming highly health conscious, and people have now opted, they are opting to go into natural remedies, to boost their health and so much. So how do you plan yourself to integrate yourself in this already existing knowledge and, infuse it with the new knowledge that we are bringing into the market?
Sure. So there's several ways that we're going to educate the public. Number one, we're going to talk and teach people about glutathione and how important that is to your cellular health. Number two, we're going to show people our independent studies. There are 44 peer-reviewed studies on our patented molecule, which is ribosine. And what ribosine does is it delivers bioavailable cysteine to people's bodies. Now, when you think, people will ask, well, what does that mean? What does bioavailability mean? It means that your body is able to absorb it and utilize it, right? There are a lot, when you want to talk about distinctions between Max's products and other nutritional supplements on the market, there are a lot of nutritional supplements that if you take them, your body is never going to absorb them. They're never going to get through your digestive tract, never going to get through into your small intestines and then absorbed into your blood. It will simply pass through. Our products are made at such a high quality that they are absorbed into your cells, get to the site of action, and perform the function that they're supposed to, right? And that is very, very important. Not all nutritional supplements are the same, and they're not made the same. There are specific ingredients that are sourced from different places by different companies. The manufacturing process is different, right? There's so many variety of things that go on in the manufacturing of products that we want to make sure that we are always at the peak, that the technology that we provide is second to none. There are very, very few nutritional supplement companies with patented molecules, which means that there's only one place in the world that you will be able to find ribosine. That is with Max International. Now, to educate the public is the next step. So we have seminars constantly. We will have medical symposiums. And we have medical symposiums because we want to educate the medical professionals in Kenya to let them know that this technology is truly unique. And we want them to put it to the test. We want them to come in with the hard questions. We want them to ask anything that they want so that they know that Max International is focused on providing the very best technology for the people of Kenya. Now, this is the same process that we went through in Ghana and Nigeria. And when we got to Ghana and Nigeria, we had about 23 peer-reviewed published studies, 23 or 24. And the Ghanaian and Nigerian scientists and researchers took it upon themselves to test ribosine. And now there are 14 peer-reviewed published studies that have come out of Ghana and Nigeria. They put our products to the test. They took the challenge, and they have now been convinced that Max International's products are truly the best technology in nutritional supplementation.
I know a lot of your research laboratories, are based in the United States. Are you planning, what kind of investment are you bringing to the Kenyan market in terms of employment, in terms of laboratory investment and so much?
Well, we won't invest in labs per se, but what we will do is make sure that we are providing the researchers with the products so that they can independently do their tests. We don't want to bias any kind of research. We really want to be independent in that regard. But with respect to employment, that's is a really great question, because that's one of the things that is, very near and dear to our hearts. We want to make sure that people have the opportunity. So when we have patented products like we do that are really standalone, that are better than other products, we really have a lot of choices as to how we distribute them. So we offer an opportunity for any Kenyan to come to our offices and have the ability to participate in the sales of our products. Now, what do we do there? It's very expensive for people to start their own businesses. So what we do is we provide people with the best products, we provide them with marketing material, we provide them with training, we provide them with an office. All they have to do is be willing to work, willing to learn, and then willing to share these products with people that they know.
And of course, the COVID-19 pandemic, brought a major shift, to how we look at our health and how we take care of our health. I mean, what has been the impact on your products and, of course, on your sales based on because of the COVID-19 pandemic?
Well, we've seen that people are more interested, as you said, in their defense system, in their antioxidant defense system, having their bodies be ready to battle any kind of diseases or bacteria that come their way. Now, it's important to make the distinction between what nutritional supplements are intended to do, which is to help your body stay healthy and strong. It's not intended to cure or treat a disease, right? We have to have our bodies do that. So we want to put your body in the absolute best position to defend itself, right? It's different than a drug. We're trying to make your cells as healthy as possible. Now, when you get like a vaccine, what they're doing is they're injecting a small portion of the disease into you so your body then can make antibodies, right? Our product is designed to help your cells be healthy so that they're in a position to be ready to defend themselves. So we see a very strong increase in people looking for products like ours that are scientifically based, that are high quality, that are bioavailable, that actually work. That is, that's key for consumer trust, consumer confidence, because there are a lot of choices out there, but people really don't know yet how do I distinguish between this product and that product? What is bioavailability? Is there real science behind this? Does it really do anything for me? And so it's our job to make sure that we are providing the public with the best information so that they can understand that there are high quality nutritional supplements with great technology behind them that are really going to help them.
You're talking about, and we have seen a situation whereby, the world turned to vaccine, to protect itself, from the ravaging effects of COVID-19. And you're saying that the products that, for example, your company, is selling or is promoting to the market is geared towards boosting your system, to become or to develop its own defensive mechanisms.
Yes.
Then if I'm taking this kind of a wellness product, then do I really need to be vaccinated?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You should absolutely be vaccinated. The science behind the vaccines that are out there right now, they're the most tested vaccines for COVID-19 in the history of humankind. There's excellent science there. So these things work hand in hand, right? Our science is focused on making you as healthy as possible, but you're still going to be exposed to bacteria, you're still going to be exposed to viruses. And so your body may be in a better position to fight that virus, but a vaccine is doing something very, very different. It's teaching your body how to produce the antibodies necessary to defeat the virus, right? Now, your cells should be in as good a condition as possible to be able to be in a position to do that. But they're two very different functions. And a vaccine is doing something, very different than a nutritional supplement is doing. But they work hand in hand. So your best defense is, hey, take Max's products. They're going to help your body be as healthy as possible. Get a vaccine because vaccines are doing something very different.
Very well. We'll continue with this conversation, but for now we want to go to the Serena Hotel, where the government of Kenya and the United Kingdom they are launching the final design for the construction and the remodeling of the Central Railway Station, which is expected to undergo tremendous renovations, going forward. Let's now listen in to the UK Prime Minister's advisor, Jonathan Black, who is currently speaking.
Which I know is has a very significant presence here in Kenya, and the Principal Secretary's just referred to the new MOU, which we're really excited about on finance and partnership here. So going back to sort of where we started, this partnership is really important to us, but I hope this project can be a real symbol of it. And when I come back next time, hopefully in less than 10 years, I look forward to coming from the airport on a railway line into this station and seeing how it's developed. So thank you very much. Thank you for the hospitality whilst I'm here, and many thanks again to everyone who's been involved in getting this to this stage. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you very much. Now, in closing, I think what I would like to do, if I may, is invite actually each of our speakers up onto the stage where we're going to do a formal handover of the design and a short photo opportunity for the media. I also, in addition to the
Well, that was Jonathan Black, an advisor to UK Prime Minister. There is Boris Johnson on Kenya's partnership with the UK in terms of the remodeling of the central railway station here in Nairobi. It's supposed to undergo major renovations, to make it more modern and, of course, to be more responsive to consumers' need. Remember, the country is in the process of developing its railways, ports and harbours and, of course, roads as the country gears towards the Vision 2030 and, of course, the planned railway city here in Nairobi, which is going to play a significant role in ensuring that there is seamless connectivity in and outside of Nairobi County. As you can see, the document is being launched and Transport Principal Secretary Engineer Joseph Njoroge is the highest representative of Government of Kenya at in that event, and of course we'll be following up to find out what exactly is contained in that master plan, and of course how much is going to cost to implement that important document, and how it fits in Kenya's National Railway Development Master Plan, and who is going to be involved in these players, and yesterday I was talking to some of the people involved in that document, and they were telling me that the two countries are yet to reach an agreement whereby, as to who is expected to foot what bill and by when they expect to break ground for the construction of that important central terminal. And of course, this was one of the agreements that were reached between President Uhuru Kenyatta and UK Prime Kenyatta's visit to UK last year during the Africa Leadership Summit. Caroline Jenga is our reporter who is following up on that event, and of course she's picking up all the details, and she'll be having more comprehensive details about that event during our subsequent bulletins at 1 o'clock, 7 p.m. and of course at 9 p.m. So keep yourself informed, and of course follow the conversation here in studio, where our conversation revolves around the wellness industry and of course the dietary supplements. We have seen various brands coming into the Kenyan market, and of course the latest one is Max International, which is a US-based company dealing with wellness products. According to McKinsey, this industry is actually very huge because it's about $1.5 trillion US, and it's going to grow as more people become much aware about their health and what they need to do to boost their health. Let's continue. We are in the company of Joseph Voistiki. He is the CEO of Max International, and he's telling us something or two about their products and of course the wellness product in this country. Voistiki, I want to hear from you. Look, when you look at the Kenya, with a country with a population of almost 55 million people, the leading killers in this country are three. Number one is high blood pressure. You have cancer, and all these diseases, most of them, they have something to do with their lifestyle diseases. And statistics will tell you that they account for about 55%, of all deaths in this country. How do we as a country, adopt wellness and dietary supplement, to lower these or to deal with this kind of a crisis?
Well, it's interesting. You mentioned the health crisis. The mortality rate here is 66 years old. That's too young to be, checking out. And so there are a lot of different things that are happening here in Kenya. You have a move from a rural lifestyle to an urban lifestyle, and what happens there is you certainly have experienced all of the traffic in the city. So we're sitting now here. We're sitting in traffic for a couple of hours each day. People are now very, very sedentary. We need people to start to adopt to be more mobile. They have to move, they have to exercise on a consistent basis. You also see all of these sugary drinks suddenly coming into the marketplace. A ton of sodas. These are terrible for you. Soda and just pure fruit juice, right? This is sugar. Sugar is the absolute enemy. Sugar creates a ton of inflammation. And then when we think about rice-based diets, a lot of people love to have white rice. Well, let me tell you, white rice is one of the enemies. You have to be very careful, because this is what leads to diabetes, right? And being obese. When we have 60% of people in the urban setting being obese, this is a serious crisis. So it takes an overall program, an overall view of how do we address this holistically. Right? That's what's important. Thinking about your lifestyle, thinking about all of the stresses that people are under. If you come through a COVID crisis, that's putting pressure. You have an economic crisis where people are looking for work and struggling to get their careers going. That's more stress. Then you have your family stress. All of these stresses lead to a proliferation of free radicals being produced in your body, which now cause damage. And that leads to disease. So the first thing you want to think about is let's take a look at our process. Let's take a look at what type of life we're leading. Let's see if we can have that balanced life, that appropriate diet, the appropriate amount of exercise, appropriate things for relaxation and our mental health. These are all things that are important. And where we need to supplement, that's where it's so important to have good nutritional supplements, right? That's, vitally important. And when I was driving in, and I was reading this article that showed that 1 in 6 people in the world right now are dying prematurely due to air pollution. Right? Air pollution is killing people prematurely. And so those are all those heavy metals. When you're in traffic and you can smell the difference between that and clean air. Those heavy metals are being brought into our cells, and they must be removed. Now, how do we remove those heavy metals? That is one of the key functions of our antioxidant defense system. And that's where we are really focused. The center of your antioxidant defense system is glutathione, right? So appropriate supplementation of glutathione is critically important to your cellular health, because your cells are constantly under attack, constantly under oxidative stress. And we need our glutathione levels to be very, very high to deal with all of those toxins, all of those heavy metals. And so we really want people to think about it as a whole. There's no singular magic pill. It has to be a cultural, a personal, a community decision that we're going to do things that will allow us as a community to remain healthy. Right? And that means we have to think about how do we make it economically more feasible to eat healthy. Right now, there's an economic attack going on where Kenyans who perhaps can't afford to go to the stores that have organic vegetables, right? They're being instead offered potato chips that cost 50 shillings, where an apple may cost 400 shillings, right? But the apple is so much more valuable to a person's health. But it's so much more convenient and cheap to buy something that has no nutritional value. Right? You see all of these fast food restaurants starting to crop up, right? They're all over the place. These are quick and easy places to get food, but they are really the wrong choice when it comes to keeping yourself healthy. So we have to think about that holistically. Well, how do we make good food choices more available to a general population? How do we make sure that we're getting technology in terms of supplementation that can help us deal with the air pollution, right? Those are the things that we have that we need to deal with.
And you've just talked about, rice, you've talked about maize, you've talked about potatoes, in form of chips. And these are
those are fried potatoes. Those are not.
Those are fried potatoes.
Those is very different than having like a potato where you are steaming it and eating it. That's different.
But of course, we do understand it. We know that even potatoes, whether you steam them or you fry them, they have a very high level of carbohydrates in themselves, and we know for sure that for you to be healthy, you really have to be very careful about the amount of carbohydrates that you consume, the amount of sugars that you consume in your body. And in terms of glycemic levels, we know that things like potatoes, things like maize, things like rice. Actually, rice has one of the highest glycemic levels, among the three. But these are the 3 most consumed products of food in this country. But you see, the whole point is not to stop people from consuming these things, but to help them consume them, but consume them in a much more healthy way.
That's right.
How can that be done? And what is the role of supplement in helping people do this? Because, hey, like, for example, I love pishori rice. You're not going to stop me from eating this. But how do I eat that and match these with supplements to ensure that I'm healthy?
So what we've done at Max is we've designed a 90-day program, right, that is designed so that you can help yourself have a balanced diet. Right? It would be crazy for me to sit here and say to you, don't eat any more rice, don't eat any more of your favorite thing at all, because then you won't be happy. And part of your, having a good life is being happy with what you're eating. But I think that if we work together, that we can sit there and say, okay, let's portion it properly. Let's prepare it well. Let's mix that with some nice steamed salmon. Let's have more vegetables in the diet. There are menu options that can work for your lifestyle and help to keep you healthy. And it's the education. It's exactly what you're doing today, is bringing the information to the people so that they know and have the ability and information to make those healthy choices. When we do that and we continue to educate and continue to work together, continue to ask the tough questions about how do we do this, well, that's when you can partner with the right people, and we really hope that people will come and partner with us, where we can help you design a healthy life from an exercise standpoint, a healthy life from a diet standpoint, giving people the proper shopping list so they know exactly what is in each product they're buying. And then, of course, provide them with the very best supplemental technology so that their cells are as healthy as possible. So in a situation where you're not getting enough bioavailable cysteine, which is something that's is present in, say, asparagus, you can't eat enough asparagus to get enough bioavailable cysteine, so you must get it from supplementation. And there is only one place that you're really going to get outstanding bioavailable cysteine, and that is with Max International's ribosine-based products.
You see, we've gotten to a point whereby, just to stay healthy, people are being, given different, natural products. You're being told to chew leeks in the morning. Of course, they don't taste good. You're being advised to take water that, has, you put garlic, you put lemons, into all these things. And of course, they don't taste good.
Well, how does this taste?
We'll discuss that. We'll discuss that. So, what is the role of research and development in ensuring that, yes, you can take all these things, and this is where, supplements and wellness products, come in, whereby you can take your garlic, you can take your lemon, you can take your asparagus, but they don't have to taste really bad.
They don't have to taste really bad. Now, the great thing is our bodies are so complicated, right? There's so many different things going on. So I worry when I hear somebody say, oh, just do this. Just do this one thing and you'll be fine, lemon and garlic water and then you're good. That's a little bit crazy because our bodies are so complicated. You need different nutritional elements for different functions in your body. You need things for your digestion. You need things for your eyesight. You need things for your hair. You need different things for your nails, right? So there's so many complications with our antioxidant defense system, with our cellular functions, that it's never just one size fits all. You have to have a very well balanced and well thought out plan so that you're buying the right things. You're buying the most important things to keep yourself healthy. So if anybody comes along and says, oh, just do this one thing and you're going to be fine, they're probably not really going and doing a thorough...
There is no silver bullet.
Yes, there's no silver bullet, but there are a lot of different things that you can do that will keep you healthy. And it's key to get educated about what these things are trying to do, right? And so there is so much information out there. This is one of the reasons that we work so closely with medical professionals, right? Not very many supplement companies are going to hold medical symposiums, right? Because that's subjecting yourself to scrutiny. And then the doctors are going to go, oh, yeah, that's what you're doing. And you're not thinking about this. Every single ingredient of our products is thought through, so that we are creating the most efficient supplements possible. Every ingredient is in there for a different cellular function. So if you go to our website, maxkenya.com or max.com, you will find that if you click on our supplements, you will see every ingredient listed there and its purpose, why we put this ingredient in, what it's doing for you in your body. We do this because we want people to understand how their body works, how complicated it is, what an unbelievable piece of technology our body is. And it needs all of these different things to function at its peak. And so, it's very important to educate. It's very important to reach out. It's very important to show everybody who we are, so that they know that we're thinking about delivering value to your body. We want you to be at your peak so that you can do what you want to do in your life to your very best.
What is the role of supplements and wellness products, in your life, and how do they plug in to ensure that, number one, you live a complete and a full life without so much limitations? Because hey, you just want to enjoy fries.
Well, you can.
You also want to enjoy, a glass of soda, and so much.
You know what I've noticed here in Kenya is people like to enjoy a beer or two, and maybe some wine at night. These are all part of a healthy life as well, right? If you don't have enjoyment and you're not doing things that are fun for you, well, then you're out of balance. Right? But if you set yourself up so that you're staying healthy, you're exercising normally, well, now, of course, you can go and imbibe and do some things that may be a little bit outside of the boundary. That makes it okay. And in terms of life limitations, I'll tell you a quick story. I'm a finance lawyer, graduated from Harvard Law School. I was hired by Max International to bring the technology that Dr. Nagasawa invented into Max. I was a marathon runner, finished top 100 in the New York Marathon out of 29,000 people. When you're running 100
Which year
miles,
was this?
Which one?
Which year was that?
1994.
Oh, 1994.
I was running with Tegla Larupe, who is a very famous Kenyan. She won that race. She and I were together at the midway point, and then she said, "I'll see you later, Joe." She dusted me. But I developed Achilles.
So you did 42 kilometers?
Oh yeah. 2 hours and 32 minutes. So I was pretty decent runner, not by Kenyan standards. I know it's just average. But all that running leads to a lot of different ailments, and so when I was reading about this technology, I was like, well, my God, this might actually help me. So my life was limited because I didn't have appropriate supplementation. Once I took Dr. Nagasawa supplements, once I took Celgevity and Ribosine, all of a sudden all my ailments were gone. All of a sudden, I was able to lead that full life. I was able to continue to exercise. I felt good about myself. I was able to do the things that I want to do. And that's part of having a full life, is making sure that you're giving your body the appropriate supplementation so that it can do the magic. Our bodies are incredible. If given the right ingredients, there's really so much that it can do.
But it's also good to understand and to tell people that supplements are not medicines.
Absolutely not.
And they're not a medication to ailment.
That's right.
Even if you still have to go through the wellness and supplement products, remember that you still need to consult doctors,
Of course.
Because all these products, you also need to understand how they're going to impact your health.
Yes.
As Wanjiko, as Kamau, as Mike, as whoever. But we're having a situation whereby a lot of people, they're just living, a life that cannot be classified as healthy lifestyle.
Yes.
And they're supplementing these with wellness products and supplements. So is this some sort of a zero-sum game?
No, it's not. It's not a zero-sum game. I mean, we always are thinking about balance. Right? That is what we will always advocate for people, is look at your life holistically. And then let's make sure that we're putting together a plan for you. Now, if you are unable to do that, right, when people are in that position where, okay, I'm not going to be able to have a balanced meal today, well, that's where supplements are going to be very, very important. And you want to take the best supplements to do that. You can't have a 10 out of 10 every day in terms of doing all of my exercise, eating all of my vegetables, not consuming any alcohol, et cetera, et cetera. That's not a realistic life. So it is so important for a person in that position to say, you know what, I'm going to do the best that I can today. What I can do every day is make sure I'm taking the very best supplementation. If I can't, maximize my health through my diet, if I can't get my exercise in all the time. But it is no substitute for having a balanced life. It certainly will help you to the best you can be. That's an important aspect. But the other thing you bring up is so critical. People should not look at these as supplements as cures. They are certainly not. Our job is to help your cells stay healthy, not to cure anything, to make sure your glutathione levels are high, and then your cells can do the work. Very different than a medicine, or very different than a vaccine, as we had discussed.
And so the whole point is, even if as you continue to, take your supplements, to take your wellness product, you must hit the treadmill. You must run, all right? You must keep yourself busy. You must take a lot of water, or the water that your body needs, because again, you don't have a one fit for all. You must work out. You must eat healthy, because supplements at the end of the day are coming to supplement what is already in your system. Is that right?
That's absolutely right.
And so where do you draw the line? Because again, you do not want to overdo things. You don't want to overindulge in supplements, overindulge in garlics and lemons and all these things. Where do you draw the line, in order for you to say that, yes, I'm living a well-balanced life?
I think it's a constant process as you go through life. You have different needs when you're 20 years old than you do at 25. Your lifestyle is changing. Your profession is changing. Your family is changing. So this is a constant, ongoing process of continuing to evolve throughout your life. When you get to my age, you're thinking very seriously about, okay, I need to really keep my glutathione levels high, because at my age, my glutathione levels naturally are very low. Now, when you say overdo it, and I mean this sincerely, you cannot overdo glutathione. You can't overdo it, because your body makes it, right? So if your body doesn't want to make it, it will simply let go of the ingredients that are part of ribosine, right? These are all natural substances. They're, so it's 100% homeostatically regulated, which means your body will just excrete it if it doesn't want to use it. But you can never produce enough glutathione. Think about that. 70 trillion cells, all trying to make glutathione. That means you have to supply it with a huge amount of bioavailable cysteine to keep the center of your cellular defense at its peak. So there are other substances that you can overdo, but glutathione is not one of them.
Well, I'm not a medical doctor. That's a fact, and I must admit that I don't know so much about those products. But I would want to imagine that even in terms of glutathione, your body requires a certain amount of glutathione. I don't want to believe that it needs so much. And that's why it has its own systems to regulate itself. And so, at what point do you say this is what is good for me, and this is I'll be overdoing things?
So what we tell people to do is take a health assessment. Write down how you're feeling, how you're sleeping, right? Where are your aches and pains? What are the things that are going on that you want to change? Now, you take ribosine, you take Max 1, or you take Celgevity, and you take it for a month, and you do the same assessment and see what's changed. You will find the right level of product for you, right? Because all of our bodies are different. All of our bodies metabolize things differently. All of us produce glutathione at a different rate. I will continue to emphasize that you can't get enough glutathione, especially in a stressful job like you have. You are under oxidative stress constantly. So I am telling you, you will be more than happy to take a lot of Max 1, and you will feel better and better and better, and you'll be like, okay, now I get it. It's hard to conceive of, because our bodies are so complicated. Even the number 70 trillion, it's like, how much is that? How many zeros are there? And that's what's going on in our body, and we need to have that particular molecule, that particular antioxidant, the mother of all antioxidants. Every cell needs to do that. So I get that people are like, what? But once you do the research, once you see how important, there are 170,000 peer-reviewed published studies on glutathione. So doctors know how important it is. There are 73 different disease states associated with low levels of glutathione. So that's how important this technology is. And you really, I remember when I was doing the transaction, I had the exact same question you did to Dr. Nagasawa. And I asked him, I said, Dr. Nagasawa, there's got to be a point. There's got to be a point where there's too much. And he just said to me, no, there isn't a point. Glutathione is made in your cells. Your cells want to make it constantly, Joe. It's homeostatically regulated. As I did my research and started to understand it better and better, I realized, of course, that one of the greatest medicinal chemists in the world was right, and I had to learn. But it's critical. So I would emphasize to everybody, learn about glutathione. Talk to your medical professionals. We will continue to provide the studies and the information. We will continue to have symposiums. We will ask the medical professionals here to do research on it. Put our products to the test. See how it helps with some of the things that are ailing the people here, because we really want to know that we are providing value for money. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, when you go to wellness stores, you face so many supplement and wellness products, on the shelf. You see products that are telling you that they want to regenerate your cells. Others, they just want to make your gut feel well and so much. But there must be a risk. I mean, you can't not just go around picking things, and just putting them in your body without first of all understanding what impact are they likely to have on your body. And especially because, as you said, I mean, we're all different.
Yes.
And your age and my age are completely different. And so the processes your body is going through is different from mine.
Yes.
So, who do you consult to know what exactly is good for my health?
So there are a lot of very well-trained nutritionists in Kenya that are experts on looking at what type of processes are going on in your body. You can take health assessments, right? You can educate and read about the different types of antioxidants, the different type of supplements, but look for studies. Look for studies. Look for companies that have produced products that they're willing to put it to the test, the scientific scrutiny that is necessary. Because I love what you're saying, because you have to treat your body like it's the best thing in the world, like it's a Lamborghini or it's a Porsche.
And actually it is.
It is.
Because your health is your wealth.
But people don't think of it that way. So being diligent about it and doing the research and taking the time, consulting with professionals, that is absolutely vital. And we encourage people to do so. We want people to look at us be scrutinous. Ask the tough questions that you're asking me. Make sure that I'm giving you an answer that makes sense. Follow through on that to make sure that I'm telling the truth. Do that with all of your products that are out there, and you will come to the right answer.
If I am taking natural remedies, I'm so much taking a lot of capiscum, I'm taking a lot of lemonade water, I'm taking so much apples and so many oranges and so much, and I'm taking enough water.
Yes.
And I'm exercising or hitting the treadmill. Then do I really need supplements?
Yes, you do.
Why?
You do, because you're not going to absorb enough nutrients that are going to be sufficient in your body. You may be able to do, and I'm talking about you specifically, and I may be wrong, but you look a little older than 18.
Well, you're right.
I'm close, okay. You look good, but I wanted to make sure. As we get older, our bodies need different things. Younger people are going to be able to do a lot more abuse to their bodies than we are. As we get older, we have to make adoptions to our diets. We have to make adoptions to our supplementation. And so, because our body chemistry is changing as we age. So I would love to say, hey, you can just eat right and you're going to be good. It's probably not right. You need to have appropriate supplementation to help yourself maintain your health.
So what products goes into making your product?
Also, there's a number of different ingredients. Again, our patented molecule, ribosine, that's the core of our products. We have high levels of alpha-lipoic acid in our switch products. This is our weight loss product. So alpha-lipoic acid, also very critical to your antioxidant defense system. Alpha-lipoic acid is also made within our cells, as is CoQ10. Right? So there are a number.
Are they made from natural products?
Absolutely, 100%.
And this product will be like what?
So broccoli seed extract would be another one, and we use a particular type of broccoli seed extract.
So it's not just any broccoli.
No, you see, that's what I'm saying. People have this perception out there that, oh, it's just this supplement or that supplement, this ingredient is the same as that one. The broccoli seed extract that we use is patented. It's patented from a company that came out of Johns Hopkins University, one of the best medical schools in the United States. The way that they extract the broccoli seed is different than every other company, so they patented it. So this is a very bioavailable form of broccoli seed extract. We have resveratrol. That's another patented form of resveratrol. So we go through every single ingredient and make sure that we're selecting the best of the best. The things that have been scientifically researched and validated through scientific papers. Because you can select, just like a car, you can get a Mercedes-Benz or you can get the cheapest car on the road. There's a difference between them. There's a difference in the quality, there's a difference in the parts, there's a difference in the performance, there's a difference in how long the car will last. And so when we're making nutritional supplements, for us, we want ourselves to be at that top level. Because that is what gives people the most value. Those ingredients that we select, the method of manufacturing, all of those things go into creating a world-class product.
You know, and you're also in a market whereby, you know, people have also taken advantage of the prevailing situation, whereby people are looking for products that will make them healthy, that will make them live a long and fruitful life. And this is where, you know, cons are coming in. You're having a lot of, you know, fake products in the market, which are having serious impacts on your health.
Yes.
And so how do you get to know that I'm taking the good product? And how do I differentiate between the good and the bad product?
When you see companies that are saying, this is cheap, this is quick, and this is easy, that'll tell you something.
Quick, cheap, and easy.
Yeah, that's usually not true. Quick, cheap, and easy, not true. That's usually the way you would think about it. And doing your own research. If people are making, you know, utterly false, ridiculous promises, they usually are not present. They're usually not there to sit down and explain how they make a product. They're not willing to answer questions because their only real purpose is to make money.
Very good.
Right? Our purpose is to deliver value. That's the difference. We want to make sure that we are delivering value to you, and we are willing to stand by it and be seen and be heard and be present in the marketplace. You will find us. We are not disappearing. It would be easy for me to stay in Salt Lake City as the CEO of a global company and stay there and send the products off to Kenya, and, you know, it is what it is, right?
Very well.
You know, but no, that's not the way we behave. You're going to see me. I'm going to be here. I'm going to stand behind our products. I'm going to be willing to talk to the people. We're going to invite everybody to come in and ask the good questions.
Thank you.
So I think that's the way it goes.
Time is not on our end. This is a very interesting conversation. We can go on and on and on. The time is not on our end. Joseph, thank you very much indeed for finding time to be with us.
Thank you.
This morning. And of course, we look forward for more engagement.
Hey, well, you're going to say how it tastes.
Well, I'll give you feedback, you know, moving forward. Well, we've been talking to Joseph Voistiki. He's the CEO of Max International, who have just come into the Kenyan market. We've been talking about the role of supplements in your health, and of course the business of supplement and wellness products in the Kenyan market. You have heard it from him. And of course the caveat is wellness and supplements are not medicines. So you have to work out. You have to talk to your dietitians, your general practitioner, you know, just to find out how your body reacts to these products, and of course, which product is good for your body. This has been Biz Check. Thank you for your time, and we appreciate it. Kurunzi is coming up next. My name is Brien. Kimani, thank you, and enjoy the rest of the afternoon.